My daughter caught me with her boyfriend, and since that moment, she hasn't spoken to me. Our lives have been altered irrevocably. At 50, I had finally found a semblance of peace that once seemed out of reach. After my husband's tragic death in a senseless accident, my world had shattered. Years of quiet grief, sleepless nights, and painstaking self-reconstruction followed. Slowly, with effort, I pieced together a life of calm routine, even finding moments of joy. I shared a home with my daughter, Sophie, who at 25 was a vibrant force, full of infectious enthusiasm and always chasing new dreams. Sophie was my companion, my spark, and in many ways, my reflection. We lived in a cozy house on the edge of Tucson, surrounded by a small garden, shelves of books, and endless coffee-fueled conversations. I never imagined anything could disrupt that fragile harmony. Then came Ethan, the son of my late sister-in-law, who passed away months earlier. He had been living in a small town up north, but moved to Tucson seeking a fresh start after his mother's death. He was jobless, with no formal education, drifting through life with odd jobs and fleeting attempts at stability. He showed up with just a backpack, a weary expression, and few possessions. He asked to stay temporarily while he got back on his feet. Out of loyalty to his mother and a sense of empathy, I agreed. It felt wrong to turn him away. He seemed harmless at first, but from the moment he stepped inside, I sensed something off about his demeanor, not quite the lost young man I expected. He carried a quiet confidence, a presence that commanded attention. Ethan was undeniably attractive, tall, broad-shouldered, with a short beard and deep brown eyes that seemed to hold untold stories. His voice was low and memorable, his movements deliberate yet assured. Sophie noticed him instantly. It was like a switch flipped in her, one I hadn't seen in years. She started lingering around him, laughing a little louder, asking pointless questions to keep him talking, finding excuses to brush past him or sit close. She'd cook elaborate meals she'd never made for me, ask him to help with trivial tasks like moving a chair or fixing a light, then watch him with a dreamy gaze. At first, I found it amusing, a natural crush. I assumed Ethan would reciprocate her obvious interest. But as days passed, I noticed he didn't engage the way I expected. He was polite, even warm with Sophie, but his responses felt detached, like his focus was elsewhere. It took me too long to realize that elsewhere was me. It started subtly. His eyes lingered on me during conversations, searching my face for something unspoken. He listened to me with an intensity that unsettled me, as if the world faded away. When the three of us were together, I could feel his gaze on me, even as he spoke to Sophie. His words were never improper, but the tone, the rhythm, it left my pulse racing. I tried to dismiss it as absurd. How could a younger man see me as anything more than a maternal figure? Yet my body betrayed my logic. His presence stirred something in me, alive, nervous, conflicted. The dynamic shifted into something charged. Sophie poured her energy into charming Ethan, while I fought to stay composed, avoiding his eyes, pretending everything was fine. But the tension between Ethan and me was palpable, electric. A brush of hands while passing a dish or clearing the table felt like fire. One night, after a party, Sophie and Ethan came home laughing, their ease cutting through me. I sat in the living room, pretending to read. They collapsed onto the couch, Sophie leaning against him, and jealousy pierced me. I forced a smile, but inside I was unraveling. That night I couldn't sleep, caught in a storm of longing, guilt, and frustration. I told myself it was a fantasy, a fleeting delusion. But Ethan sought me out. I saw it in his glances, felt it in the quiet moments when he lingered near me in the kitchen at midnight, saying little, just present. One evening I escaped to the backyard, desperate for air to cool the ache in my chest. It was a starless night, heavy with clouds. I sat in a patio chair, breathing deeply. Footsteps approached. I didn't look back, I knew it was him. "Can't sleep?" Ethan asked softly. I shook my head, silent. He stood beside me, wordless for a moment, then looked at me with an intensity that made my hands shake. "You shouldn't stare like that," I said weakly. "How should I look at you?" he murmured, so close I could feel his warmth. I had no answer. When his hand brushed my cheek, I let go. The kiss was slow, consuming, earth-shattering. From that moment, Our connection became a hidden pulse, a secret that burned in the quiet of our home. We met in stolen moments, early mornings when Sophie slept, tiptoeing through dimly lit halls, guided by slivers of moonlight or the faint glow of the stove. We'd find each other in the kitchen, the darkened living room, sometimes even his guest room. Our encounters were hushed, whispers, careful touches, restrained sighs. It wasn't just physical, it was a deep need to feel alive, to fill an emptiness I hadn't named. There was tenderness, a shared vulnerability, as if we were the only two people in the world. But guilt gnawed at me. Sophie, oblivious, still believed Ethan was warming to her. She'd talk about the way he smiled, her voice brimming with hope, while I listened, each word a knife. I wanted to stop, to confess, but then Ethan would find me in the dark, hold my hand, and I'd fall again. We lived in a fragile pretense, normal by day, sharing meals and forced laughter, but at night, silence carried our truth. Every accidental touch felt like a spark. One rainy night, with Sophie out with friends, Ethan and I sat by the fireplace, wrapped in a shared blanket. We talked for hours, about his mother, my husband, the losses that shaped us. We barely touched, yet it was one of our most intimate moments. His gaze held no judgment, only a quiet acceptance that made me feel seen, valued, loved in a way I hadn't felt in years. But lies don't hold. Our world collapsed on an ordinary night. Sophie came home early. We didn't hear her, her key in the door, her steps in the hall, the soft creak as she opened my bedroom door. We were lost in each other, whispering, my head on Ethan's chest, his fingers in my hair. Then she was there, frozen in the doorway. Her face, shock, betrayal, pain, is burned into my memory. What is this?" she stammered, her voice breaking. I sat up, my heart pounding, nausea rising. Ethan froze, his face pale. "Sophie, please," I started, but words failed me. "Are you serious?" she screamed, tears streaming. "You, with my mom? Were you both laughing at me while I talked about him like a fool?" Her sobs were raw, gut-wrenching. She knocked over a lamp in her fury, the crash echoing her pain. "I can't believe this," she repeated, her eyes filled with a hatred I'd never seen. I reached for her, desperate to explain, to hold her. "Don't come near me," she spat, her voice cold. She turned to Ethan. "And you let me think you cared?" He said nothing, head bowed. "Get out, both of you!" she screamed, then fled to her room, slamming the door. Silence followed. Ethan gathered his things and left without a word, his departure as quiet as his arrival. I stood in my room, surrounded by chaos, tangled sheets, a broken lamp, my heart in pieces. I wanted to go to Sophie, but her sobs through the wall stopped me. I couldn't face her. Days later, Sophie moved out. She didn't look at me as she left, didn't speak. I've tried reaching out, letters, calls, texts, all unanswered. Her silence is my punishment. Now I live in a house that feels hollow, surrounded by photos that sting, objects heavy with memories. I sit on the porch some nights, staring at the empty street, hoping for a sign of her, a call, a chance to mend what I broke. But some wounds cut too deep. I know now that some desires, no matter how intoxicating, come at too great a cost. I betrayed my daughter, and I'm paying for it still. Alone, in a house that's no longer a home, haunted by the sound of her footsteps walking away. I keep trying to reach her to explain, but she's shut me out. Some lines a mother should never cross, and I crossed them. Every night, I sit on the porch, watching the empty road, wondering if I'll ever forgive myself, or if she ever will. Some mistakes leave scars that never fade, and some desires, once unleashed, destroy everything.